Good evening and welcome to the finale of 31 Horror Nights. It's October 31st, Halloween, and tonight's movie is Donnie Darko. Out of all the movies that I've watched this month, this is probably the only one that would ever be considered a quote-unquote classic, because this is a movie that people are still talking about. I chose this to be the movie that I watch on Halloween because I think the premise is that the world is going to end on Halloween or like very close to Halloween. I know that there are like Halloween themes in it. It takes place around Halloween. How many more times in 10 seconds can I say the word Halloween? Anyway, I just thought that this was a pretty suiting movie for the finale. Also, out of all the movies that I've watched this month, this one has the highest rating on IMDb with an 8.0. Ever since its release in 2001, this film has kind of garnered cult status. Like, there are a lot of people that hold this movie in very high regard, and I'm interested to see why. This is also where the All Around Me Are Familiar Faces meme song came from, so that's kind of interesting. I hope that I'll be able to take it seriously when it happens in the movie, but I kind of doubt it. Anyway, enough talk, I'm gonna go watch it. I finished watching Donnie Darko, and I have to say that that movie was okay. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. To be fair, I feel like I should have liked this movie more than I did because of the way it was done. It was very artistically done, the direction was really good, the editing was very interesting, but overall, it was interesting but not something I want to keep coming back to. Donnie Darko is about the eponymous teenager, even though Jake Gyllenhaal looks like he's in his mid-20s. Apparently he was like 21 at the time of this. I can't tell what age any of the characters are supposed to be in this movie. Like, flat out, across the board, none of the characters. But anyway, Donnie Darko seems to be a very troubled young man. He goes to therapy, he apparently takes medication, and there's, like, more stuff that keeps coming up about his past that's very, like, unnerving and unsettling, even though he doesn't seem like a bad or angry or evil person. Anyway, he starts seeing visions of this. I thought it was supposed to actually be a giant rabbit, but apparently it's a man in a rabbit suit, and I have to give them credit. The design for this rabbit costume, the rabbit mask especially, is just gnarly. And this rabbit, who apparently wants to be called Frank, keeps telling him that the world will end in a certain number of days. Like, originally it was like 28 days, 6 hours, something minutes, something seconds. And apparently that means October 30th, so it's not quite Halloween yet, but there's a Halloween party in the movie. And I kind of thought that the movie would be about, like, Donnie trying to deal with his visions, trying to figure out if they're real or not, and if they're not real, like, how to deal with that, and if they are real, how he could possibly stop it. But more than that, it was just, like, the people in this little town going about their daily lives. To be honest, though, I get the impression that the actual, like, plot, what's put in front of the viewer, is not what's supposed to be really important in Donnie Darko. It's more like the subtext and the themes throughout it. Like, they talk about God, they talk about, like, free will, and if humans have free will, they talk about if time travel is possible. But then, like, interspersed with that, you have, like, moments of comedy and levity. Like, one of the subplots is that there's this, like, basically like a motivational book author who's clearly just full of garbage, but is charismatic, so people believe him and try to follow him. And like most of the characters in this movie know at some level that he's full of crap, Donnie included. That's kind of a theme too. This movie is just so full of people in positions of authority who act like, and they're very convinced that they know what they're doing, and they really don't. And the following might be very judgmental, but just hear me out. I feel like part of the reason why this movie is so beloved by a lot is that a lot of it sort of speaks to the sort of punk/emo mindset. And I'm not saying that as a condemnation of this movie, because I actually, like, that crossed my mind. Is this just, like, emo whining a lot of it? But then I realized we're supposed to like Donnie, and one thing that Donnie doesn't do is put himself on a pedestal as someone who's better than other people. And it's not, I hate my life, I hate my school, I hate my parents. It's, I have problems in my life, I have problems with my school, and I have problems with my parents. From that angle, I can respect this movie in sort of showing, like, teenage emotions played out in a lot more of a fair way. There's a lot of occasions in this movie where they'll basically show two scenes at once, but they'll keep cutting back and forth between the two scenes. And a lot of times the scenes, they don't seem to have anything to do with each other. And I just realized this movie is a film nerd's fantasy. You could probably go in, like, discussing the themes, the symbolism, the little tricks throughout the movie. You could go on through that forever. And I'm sure people have. This is a movie that invites deeper analysis. But even at face value, I think that this movie was very interesting in the way that it was done. There were some moments that I liked, there were some characters that I enjoyed, there were some moments that worked really well when it comes to drama, and the sort of like ambiguity of the plot and the horror, and especially the ending, I thought was something to really think about, and I thought that was done pretty well. I didn't love this movie, but I can understand somebody else loving it. I definitely respect Donnie Darko. Alright, that ends the non-spoiler section of this video. If you're leaving now, happy Halloween, have a safe time, and yeah, so let's go into the spoiler part. The first big thing that happens in Donnie Darko is Donnie apparently sleepwalks, and he was going out the house and he sees Frank and he gets the ominous warning, and then there's something that, like, I thought it was like an earthquake for a second or a bomb going off, but apparently like a jet thruster from an airplane, like just the thruster, not the airplane, fell onto the house and into his room. If he was in the room, he would have been crushed by it. And what's even weirder is that there weren't even, like, downed flights being reported. Like, nobody would take ownership of that jet engine. As previously stated, a lot of this movie is just the characters going about their lives for a month. But there were a couple things, like, there's the famous scene where they're watching a movie, him and his girlfriend, and the girlfriend is asleep, and then he turns and then he sees Frank sitting in the chair on the other side of her. And then Donnie tells Frank to take off the bunny mask, and it shows a guy with his eye shot out, it looks like, and you see Donnie firing like guns at like bottles at one point in the movie. So I think the implication is he was doing that with a friend and there was an accident and his eye got shot out and he died. Or maybe I was reading that wrong, I don't know. But anyway, for some reason, Frank tells him to go burn down the motivational speaker's house, and in doing so revealed a secret passage to a room that contained child pornography. So that happened. Anyway, more and more things build up until eventually you reach the night before the world is supposed to end. There's actually an altercation where his girlfriend gets hit by a car and dies, and then he sees that same bunny suit, but in reality, and there's a person in it, and he takes off the mask, and Donnie has a gun and shoots him in the eye, so it was this weird type of, like, backwards foreshadowing. And then he, like, drives out of town with his dead girlfriend, and he looks up at the sky, and he sees, like, the sky split open, and there's this wormhole. And there was this little plot cul-de-sac where his little sister was in a dance troupe, and, like, the mom was taking her somewhere on a plane. And then you see that either the entire plane got sucked in the wormhole, except for that little thruster, or just the thruster did. Because that's the thruster that landed on the house. And then the movie gets very ambiguous. It, like, rewinds time backwards, and you eventually get back to that night, but instead of him being outside, he's in his room. And when the thruster lands in the room, he gets killed. There are a couple ways you could interpret this. Like, he didn't go through the wormhole himself, so it's kind of weird to think that he went back in time. Maybe this was all just, like, a dream he had before he died. Or maybe he, like, accidentally wandered into a different timeline and that was him coming back to it. Because once it's all over, like, his girlfriend, who is not his girlfriend because they haven't even met yet, she's going by and she asks a bystander what's happening. He said, the thruster fell in on this house and it killed one of the kids, Donnie Darko. And then, like, there's this weird moment of, like, deja vu and, like, semi-familiarity. And she sort of, like, exchanges a look with Donnie's mom. Once again, the film analyst surely had a field day with that. And then the movie just ends. Overall, in my own personal opinion, Donnie Darko is more interesting than it is, like, great, but I did enjoy myself while watching it. It wasn't my favorite, but I understand how it became a cult favorite, and I understand why there's a lot of people who keep coming back to it. And that, my friends, is the end of 31 Horror Nights 2020. This has been a very interesting month. I love doing these. I'm definitely going to do one next year, or at least some type of Horror Nights next year. But happy Halloween. Be safe out there. Goodbye, and I will not be seeing you tomorrow.